We all know how important it is to keep the little ones away from the household cleaners, paint, medicine, and other toxins. They're all over the house for fear that they could be poisoned.
There are, though, other toxins in your home that could be just as dangerous. You may not even be aware of them. So as part of National Poison Prevention Week, Jennifer Johnson with the Wicomico County Health Department joins us to help us make sure that our families stay safe. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And it's not really a big, difficult thing. Something as simple as opening a window could expose us to something bad.
Absolutely. The lead can be in the paint, and we don't realize it. It's very small particles that kids can get into from the lead. Sometimes, sometimes we don't think of the angle that the kids are where they are.
Right.
I suggest sometimes to actually get on the floor. We walk around and what we see is higher up, but the kids are down low. So even getting down on your hands and knees as an adult so you can see what the kids see. And if you're thinking about a 1 or a 2-year-old, they could be right at the level where the window is. So they could go up to the windowsill, they're teething, so they could start chewing on the windowsill.
And in doorways too.
Absolutely, in doorways, because they're crawling around on the floor, so they can, get into different the lead paint.
And then when you talk about lead, you're not talking about, a big puff of smoke or anything. You're talking about a particle half the size of a salt
It's
granule?
very tiny, and you can't see it, you can't smell it, so that's why it is very difficult, because it's not something we can smell, it's not something we can actually see. So that's why it's important to make sure, your house is tested if it's before 1978, to make sure you don't have lead paint. We have a lot of older homes here, on the shore, so it's very important to make sure that you get your home tested.
Because this is the kind of stuff that can get into your lungs and you wouldn't even know it.
Absolutely, because the particles are so small, that a child can breathe that in, an adult can breathe that in, and it goes right to their lungs.
Okay, so if it's before 78 that our house was built, we can have it tested. Is that something we can do?
No, you would call somebody to come in and actually test it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you would call somebody to come in and test it.
But our children, we can have tested for
Absolutely.
lead poisoning, just to be on the safe side?
Yes, every child on the Lower Eastern Shore is supposed to be tested for lead at age 1 and at age 2, which is a blood test. So it's very important that they get, and then depending on the result of the test, there will be follow-up with it. If their lead level is high, then they're going to continue to follow up.
So that's the reason for that testing. It's not just
Absolutely.
an arbitrary thing. They're saying, let's check on the kids and make sure they're okay.
Right.
Are there other lead threats that we may have?
The paint is the biggest issue, but there's also some toys, sometimes the cheaper, dollar store toys or whatever, that some of them may also have some lead in it, different paints. And then also you have to think about the kids, when they have a toy, it goes right into their mouth.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to be real careful.
Now you were telling us about this pin. What is this pin?
That pin is from Build-A-Bear, and it's a pin that somebody could wear, on their shirt, but
Right.
it did have traces of lead in it.
Tested positive.
And a lot of it's in the red paint, from what I understand. Just like that picture before we saw of the bowling pins.
The red paint, yes, yes. So, that's why it's important. You have to be real careful. And it may not be a child wearing that pin. It could be an adult wearing that pin, but you're holding a child and they start chewing on it.
yeah.
So, you have to be very aware and very careful.
Okay, so we talked about lead, which is obviously a problem, but asbestos could also be a problem around the house.
Absolutely. This is from construction things. I think a lot of people now may be adding on to homes. You have to be careful with older homes, and if you're tearing down walls, then the asbestos can be in the walls, insulation, different things like that. So you have to be real careful, the attic or wall, roofing shingles, different things like that.
Right.
Heat-resistant fabrics, packaging, gaskets, and coatings.
See, I never would have thought of that.
I wouldn't have either. Yeah, when I think of asbestos, I think of, in insulation and things like
Like
that.
in a ship.
But tile floors
Right.
even? Yeah.
Yep, so.
Now, if we're wanting to do something around the house, then we probably need to check to make sure we're not about to disturb something with asbestos, right?
Absolutely, yes. If you're getting ready to do some adding on, reconstruction, whatever you're going to do, you definitely need to have somebody come in and check, and they'll let you know if there's traces of it.
So again, we're talking about something so small, you're not really going to know if you inhale it
Right.
until it's too late.
You can't see it, you can't smell it, so it makes it very difficult to identify, obviously. So that's why it's important to have your home tested and make sure your kids do get that blood test.
Find out for
All right,
sure.
speaking of kids, we've all seen the Mr. Yuck stickers.
Yes.
They're right there. It's always a good reminder to make sure that the kids stay away from products. We put these on our products.
Yep. Yes, a lot of people don't realize that Mr. Yuck is still around.
Yeah.
I go out and talk to about 1,200 kids every year. The important thing is, I think a lot of us know about the chemicals under our sink, things we clean with, but you're talking also cosmetics. If somebody has a purse on the floor and a child crawls over and pulls out makeup, that can also hurt them. So,
Straight to the mouth.
we always think of the chemicals that we keep usually locked up, hopefully,
Right.
under the sink, but things like that, or even toothpaste, something we use every day, they can be sick if they eat the toothpaste. And think about the flavors they have. They have bubble gum, they have grapes, so kids would go in there and start eating and they can get sick from
because
too
if
much fluoride.
If it looks like something good, they'll put it in their mouth. And
Right.
you were talking about prescription drugs.
Yes. That's the other thing too, because prescription drugs, a lot of it looks like candy. The other thing too is kids want to mimic what their parents are doing. So if they see their parent taking medication,
They see it as eating candy.
That's right. They could see that, and just to make sure, the biggest thing we want to get out to children is to just never put anything in their mouth if they don't know what it is, as they get older. Now the little ones, we definitely need to keep that stuff locked up. But, as they get older, to make them realize that, you cannot take somebody else's medicine. It can make you even sicker than what you already are if you already are taking medicine, or you should never take it by yourself. Have your parents give you your medicine because they know how much you should have.
Right.
So it's very important to do
And we
that.
as parents, even though we're being careful around the house, we need to think about where the kids are going.
Absolutely. Where during the day, if your child's at a home daycare, you have to think about that. Grandparents' house. Now, as we get older, the grandparents usually do take quite a bit of medication and they may drop it. They may not know that they dropped it.
Right.
Right.
So then you have, the grandchild coming in and crawling on the floor, so very easy to pick that up and put it in the mouth. Even animals. I mean, you don't want the dogs to get
Right.
it either, or cats. So
Wow.
you have to be real careful.
Jennifer,
lot.
great information.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you
much
very
for
much for
stopping
having me.
by. And if you want more information on how you can keep your family safe, go to delmarvalife.com. Click on the show tab. By the way, it's now located on the left side of the homepage.
A little bit later on Delmarva Live, it's an event that is all about mud and a whole lot of fun too. How to get involved in Mudapalooza and the Mud Run and how it helps children in the process.
But next, this is no ordinary fun to drive because, well, you get to drive. How about taking a brand new car out for a spin and how it can help a local high school sports program?
And while you're driving, Dr. Oz says just make sure you leave the cell phone alone.
Hi, I'm Dr. Oz. Texting while driving kills. Sending or reading a text message takes your eyes off the road for 4.6 seconds, the equivalent of driving down a football field at 55 miles per hour blind. Texting and driving is also illegal in most states. If you can't help yourself, please turn the phone off while in the car.